to the Rapport Podcast Network.
Do you feel it yet? Do you feel it in the air? Do you feel like you're truly a member, a part of the SEC now? I don't know if any of you guys have College Game Day on the TV, but personally, I get pretty annoyed with that. So let's have a pregame show of our own, but specifically talking about just the Oklahoma Sooners. We're going to dive into this matchup, give some of our thoughts, some final closing thoughts before game time tonight, and we're also going to give our predictions, official predictions, because as you know, I had my preseason predictions. I even had my throughout the week kind of rough estimates, but once it gets down closer to game day, it gets closer to game time, then we give our official predictions. We also set some expectations, some things that we want to see from the team. Obviously, they don't really care about what my expectations of them are. Hopefully, they have their own expectations, their own goals, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about all this, so much more here on the pregame show. We are live, so make sure to jump in the comments down below. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. Sooner Nation, how you feeling, guys? How are you feeling? Because this is one of the biggest games that we have had in recent history. I think, man, probably going back to last year, that Texas game definitely felt similar to this. But I feel like there's just, because of this being so early in the season, the first game, the first in-conference game in the SEC, you want to set a good first impression. You want to come out there and just show them, not that we're trying to own the SEC, not that we're trying to run the SEC, not, I guess we are trying, but not that we think that we're going to run the SEC or anything, that we're just going to, that's what a lot of SEC fans seem to believe that we think, and that's just not true. That's not the case. We do want to come in here, though, and be respected. We want to have our name put on the map. We want Oklahoma to be regarded as one of the good teams, even in the SEC. That's what we want. And today, all we want is just a victory. All we want is to look over at Josh Heupel and say, hey, remember when you were here? Remember the good old days? Well, we're still having him over on this sideline. So how's it feel to be on the other sideline? That's what we want as Oklahoma fans, right? Man, I am super excited for this game, guys. We've been talking about this all week long and leading up to this game, and the closer we get, a little bit more, the closer we get, the more confused I am about this game and how to feel. It's an interesting game, and we're going to dive into it so much more. Please, everybody, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching live right now, jump in the chat down below. We will try to get to as much of all of the chats that we can, so please jump in the chat. We will make sure that we try to read as many as we can. Want to let everybody know we do have our website finally up. That's something that I wish we would have been a little more diligent in getting up a little quicker, but we do have our website. You can check that out. That's Soonerspotlight.com. So go check that out for everything. We have blog posts on there that we're starting to put out. We have our videos, the audio, and then you can also find the merch store, the merch shop, get all kind of merchandise. We've got the trucker hats. I thought these were kind of silly, to be honest. It's a little foam hat, but I love them. I've been wearing these hats all over the place. I've got two of them that I kept for myself. The rest of them I'm saving for you guys. So go over to Soonerspotlight.com/store if you want to check out the merch store. That helps this podcast grow. It helps kind of fund our way to bigger things. We've got a lot planned. I think the goal for this podcast, the goal for this show, is to build a community with Oklahoma fans, and I don't want to give away what we have in store and what we want to be able to do with this show, because it would probably, I just don't want to give away those things. But guys, we do have a lot of things that I think you guys as Sooner fans can enjoy, and some things that we're going to do to really build a true community on this show that's different than a lot of other shows, because a lot of other shows, they're talking at you. I want to talk with you guys. That's why we do these live shows, because I want to see your comments. And then we even have call-ins that will be made available. They're not today. But we've got a lot of things like that we want to build a community. So go check it out. The merch store is Soonerspotlight.com. If you go there and just click on merch shop, otherwise you can go to Soonerspotlight.com/store. It helps us out, helps us grow. We appreciate it. But guys, let's get into this matchup. We've got number 6, Tennessee Volunteers against number 15, Oklahoma Sooners. We started off at number 16, right? Bumped our way up to number 15 and just stalled there. That's it. We just kind of stalled there. But that's okay. Honestly, I'm okay with staying at number 15. I want to be a team that we other teams recognize Oklahoma as being a top 15 team. That's where I want to be. But I don't really want to be number 1, number 2, even number 3 with a big target on your back for everyone. I would rather be the underdog in some of these games, like going forward when we have to play Texas. They're number 1 right now. I want to be the underdog in that game. And of course, beating number 1 is going to put you up higher in the rankings if we're able to pull that off. But if we're able to keep on going throughout the season, and we've got Ole Miss later on the road, Missouri is ranked above us right now. I think if we win today, we jump ahead. I feel like we jump ahead of Missouri. If we end up beating Texas, we're probably jumping ahead of Missouri. Probably even Ole Miss is one of those teams. Alabama later on in the season. I want to be an underdog in those games. And this game, the reason why it's so confusing for me to make a true prediction, I'm going to give my prediction, my score prediction, my official score prediction here towards the end. But the reason why it's so difficult is because we're an underdog. I brought this up in a previous episode here this week, but this is the first time Oklahoma is an underdog of more than a field goal at home since 2000 when they beat number 1 Nebraska at home. And Josh Heupel was the quarterback at the time. Brent Venables was the defensive coordinator at the time. All of the storylines that lead into this game, so fun. You've got true freshmen. No, not true freshmen. You've got 2 redshirt freshmen going against each other. They both came out of the same recruiting class, both 5 stars. You've got both of them going off against each other. For Jackson Arnold, the first time in a SEC conference game. That's pretty exciting. For Nico Iamaleava, this is your first time on the road, a true road game, as a collegiate quarterback. Now, he's been, the bowl game is kind of that feel. That's kind of a road feel, but not in road environment. And then you've got the neutral site game earlier on this year. So he hasn't had a true road game. How is he going to hold up in that? How loud is Oklahoma going to be? I'm sure if fans are already at the stadium right now for College game day, they might not hear this. But if you do hear this and you're going to be at the game tonight, here's one thing that I want us to do, Sooner Nation. You welcome Tennessee fans. For one, I love Tennessee fans. We've got some Tennessee supporters on here. Hopefully they jump on and we can chat with them again. But we've got some Tennessee supporters. The biggest video that we dropped on this channel by far was a Tennessee video. We love Tennessee fans. And honestly, Tennessee's a fun team to root for. Just not this week. Just not today. But what I want you guys to do, if you're going to be in the stadium, if you're going to be at the game, I want you to be super polite to the fans. I want you to be super polite to the players and just give them that warm welcome of welcome to Norman. It's funny because I heard Jake Crane talk about this. It was a couple weeks ago. Jake Crane, a good buddy of mine, friend of the show. He was on the show a little while ago just talking about Oklahoma and their future in the SEC. It seems like not a whole lot of Oklahoma fans liked what Jake had to say. But I love Jake. He's a great guy. He said the same thing about Nebraska hosting Colorado and how Nebraska gives you that welcome to Lincoln. Welcome to Lincoln. And you walk away from Lincoln, and you really do, because I went and I had a tailgate party in Lincoln with my brother, who's a Nebraska fan, and some of his friends who didn't know me. And, you go to Lincoln and you get that warm welcoming. And I didn't end up going into the game when Oklahoma played, but I was out in the tailgate party, the only Sooner fan, and they all welcomed me. It's one of those things, you play this psychological game. So be warm to the fans. Also be polite to the players. Welcome those players in, make them feel good about themselves. And pregame, I don't want it to be very loud. I want it to be a little noisy, make them think, oh man, this is a crazy environment. But I want it to just be a little bit loud, and I want to hear cheering for Josh Heupel out onto the field, because what that does, it's a psychological game. When you're on a true road game, when you go to a road environment, as a football player, you kind of soak in the hatred, and it fuels you up a little bit. Baker Mayfield back in, 2016, 2017, somewhere in that area, when he went to Ohio State, another game I was able to be at, super fun environment. But he fed off of all of the boos. He fed off of all of the fans hating him. So Sooner fans, what I'm trying to say is just be super welcoming to specifically the players, the coaches, other fans too, because we're all fans of somebody. I hate seeing people be rude to other fans coming in. I get having that little banter back and forth, but what you do is you play that psychological game with them so that whenever it is game time, all of a sudden, bam, it snaps into, we're not cheering for you anymore. We're not being nice anymore. We're being loud, we're being rowdy, and I need everybody to be off their seat all 4 quarters of this game. If you're in the stadium today, we've got to be really loud. We have got to be extremely loud, specifically when they are on offense. When we're on offense, dead silent. It's going to be a really fun atmosphere, and I don't have to tell Oklahoma fans this, but being nice, I know it's fun to join in with the SEC environment of booing the other team when they come out on the field and just, booing them for everything that they do. I get that. But when they come in, when they come off the bus, if you're in those lines, when they come off the bus, just give them a nice warm welcome. Make them feel good about themselves. Play that psychological game just a little bit. That's one thing that I think is helping Oklahoma, because stadium atmospheres, home advantage, home field advantage, it does in fact win games. Not necessarily the home field itself, but the environment and how you feed off of it as a home team and how it affects the opposing team. Communication gets misconstrued because of the loud environment. It rattles players because they realize how many fans are cheering against them. So you know what? The psychological game of having a home field advantage does help, and we're going to need that today. Tennessee is a very good team. Tennessee's averaging close to 64 points a game. That's not going to happen today. And we just talked. If you guys didn't have a chance, go back and watch the episode with Eric Kane that just dropped yesterday. Eric, super cool guy, came on. He's a volunteers, kind of spokesperson. He does a lot of media. He's with VolQuest, with On3, and he also does Locked On Vols. He does a lot of stuff, and very knowledgeable. Go back and watch that. But him and I were talking about how, a lot of these predictions, with the predictions of 40-plus points being put up on Oklahoma, I think that's delusional, to be honest. I know. You know what? I'm the first to admit I'm going to have a bias when picking this game. I am. I'm going to have bias when I'm looking at this game and saying, there's no way you can beat us like that. But truthfully, you look at this Oklahoma defense and the way that they've done it, you're just not going to be able to do that. I think you look at the other side with Tennessee. One thing that I think stands out with Tennessee's schedule so far, and we've talked about this, is the opponents that they've gone against were totally booty cheeks. They were absolutely terrible. And the opponents that Oklahoma went against, Temple, very bad. And then we go on to Houston, who I think is underrated. Watch how they perform the rest of the season. I think they can win 5 games, which is saying a lot for first year Willie Fritz. And Willie Fritz is a coach that I think, he definitely gets some respect. But in that game, the way that Oklahoma performed and the way that everyone's talking down Houston, I don't think they get enough respect after the fact, because they lost to UNLV, who ended up going on, and they're still undefeated. UNLV starts off 3-0. UNLV looks very good right now. UNLV, has a really good shot. So I'm not saying that Oklahoma, and then Tulane, of course, we can talk about how tough Tulane is. Tulane's known for being kind of that tough, gritty team. So I'm not trying to say that Oklahoma had some kind of like crazy good schedule or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But I think when you compare Oklahoma's schedule to Tennessee, Much different. Much different. Let's start off with Chattanooga. So they end up beating Chattanooga 69-3. Nico Iamaleava has 314 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. Dylan Sampson has 124 yards on just 12 carries. That's over 10. That's 10.4 yards a carry. Also had 3 touchdowns on the ground from Dylan Sampson. Just looking at the stats, I mean, they put up some crazy good stats against Chattanooga. Chattanooga Mocs, an FCS team. So yeah, you put up some great points against an FCS team, but let's look at what Chattanooga's done since then. They lost to Georgia State at Georgia State. Georgia State's one of those respectable small teams. They're one of those small teams that they'll put up a little bit of a fight against just about anyone, but Chattanooga loses 21-24 to Georgia State. Then Mercer. The only reason why I know who Mercer is because I feel like Alabama plays Mercer a lot in this SEC schedule where you kind of set one of those non-conference cupcake games in the middle of the season, towards the end of the season. I feel like we've seen Mercer pops up against Alabama a lot. That's the only reason why I know who Mercer is, and they're not good at all. Terrible. An FCS opponent. And Chattanooga lost to Mercer at home 10-3. That's the Chattanooga team that Tennessee put up all these amazing stats against. Then we go on to NC State, a ranked opponent. They were ranked number 24 when Tennessee played them. Tennessee kind of at the end of the first quarter, only 7-0. At the end of the first half, you go into halftime, you're up 20-3, I believe it was in that game. And Tennessee, looked really good. They ended up pulling away, winning 51-10. The only touchdown, I believe, was on a pick six, which you can talk about that being a talking point for this game with Oklahoma, who has really tied for the most turnovers so far this season, 10 turnovers through 3 games, 6 fumble recoveries, which is as many as we had all season last year. This defense wants to turn the ball over today. They want to put their offense in very good positioning, and that's how you win the game. But anyways, the only touchdown allowed by Tennessee was a pick six so far this season to NC State. And one of those, you're getting hit as you throw. I don't blame Nico so much for that, other than you just got to be smarter. Kind of like Jackson Arnold's. You've got to be smarter when the pressure's closing in on you. And you've just got to make sure you either throw it away, or if you're not out of the pocket, just take the sack. Just take the sack. But anyways, NC State. What's NC State done? They go against Clemson today. I'm interested to see how that shapes up. But you've got NC State, week 1, as they're ranked number 24, remember that, and supposed to have one of the best offensive lines, number 3 offensive line, I think is where they were ranked preseason. That did not show to be the case so far this season. But they go against Western Carolina. The Western Carolina Catamounts is their mascot name. Who's that, you say? An FCS opponent. They go into halftime tied 14-14 against an FCS opponent. This is NC State we're talking about. 14-14 at halftime. You end up going into the third quarter, ending the third quarter down by 4 points. 21, let's see, what was that? 21-17. Yeah, so down 4 points. Had a big fourth quarter to come back. So, I mean, at least you fought through and won, but you end up winning that game 38-21 for NC State against an FCS opponent, Western Carolina. Western Carolina, who just barely beat Elon by a touchdown this past week, and then before that, or in week 2, lost to Campbell. So they're not even that great in their own division. That's who NC State was close with. And then going on, NC State, after the Tennessee game, so Tennessee beats them 51-10. After that game, they were in a dogfight with Louisiana Tech. In a dogfight with Louisiana Tech, losing 17-6 at halftime against Louisiana Tech. And then you end up coming away. You had a pick six that helped you out win that game. Win it by 10 points, 30-20 against Louisiana Tech, who, with that game, you were a 20-point favorite. Going back to the FCS opponent in Western Carolina that NC State faced, in that one, they were a 32.5-point favorite. They were expected to win by 33 points, and it's at home. So I bring this up to say this is who Tennessee has gone against. And then we go to Kent State, and I brought this one up. Kent State, who is 0-3 on the season now after losing to Tennessee 71-0. They lost to St. Francis the week before, another FCS team that they lost to, 23-17 at home. This is Kent State, who lost that much at home. And when you go even further, deeper dive, and I promise, guys, I'm coming to a point here. I promise I'm coming to a point with this. But St. Francis, they lost their other two games, so they beat Kent State. St. Francis beats Kent State, but the week before lost to Dayton 18-10, and then they the week after lose to Central Connecticut 27-20 at home. This is the Kent State team, or this is the St. Francis team that beat Kent State. Now you have Tennessee beat Kent State. They look great, right? 71 points. You got Nico Iamaleava throwing for 173 yards and really just like the first quarter and a half, and then they take him out. You got the onside kick when you're up 30-0 to kind of run the score up a little bit more before half. Dylan Sampson runs for four total touchdowns. I mean, yeah. You put up a lot of really good stats, and you look like one of the best teams in the nation. I'm not trying to take anything away from Tennessee. Not necessarily. But what I'm trying to say is I think Tennessee and their defense, their offense, both sides of the ball, a little bit overhyped, in my opinion. I don't think they're as good as a lot of talking heads are making it sound. And so Tennessee, I mean, a great team. And I am worried that Oklahoma is going to be in a dogfight in this game and going to have a really hard time. I'm not sure Oklahoma wins this one. I'm not confident Oklahoma wins this one. Am I cheering for Oklahoma? Yes. Do I have expectations that Oklahoma should be able to win this one? Yes. And the reason being is that the teams that Tennessee has gone against has been very simple. And this is the point that I'm making with all these teams that they've gone against. They've blown every team out of the water. They haven't been in any kind of dogfight. They haven't been in any kind of back and forth battle. They haven't been in any kind of game that's been a close one. This will be the first game that they go against an opponent worthy of facing off against each other, an opponent that actually stands a chance. The first time that they're less than double-digit favorite. Barely, but less than a double-digit favorite. So how does Tennessee handle the pressure of your first game where you've been in a dogfight, where you go over to Oklahoma? They were in a dogfight against a couple of teams that they really shouldn't have been. Tulane feels like it was probably a little bit closer than the score leads it on to be, mainly just because of that third quarter. If you take that third quarter out of the game, you take that pick six out of the game, it was a really good performance by Oklahoma. But Oklahoma kind of in a little bit of a dogfight with Tulane, a dogfight much more than it should have been with Houston. So Oklahoma's been there. Tennessee hasn't been there. How are they going to handle being in their first dogfight of the season, and on top of that, being on the road for the first true road game of the season? I do love their all-white uniforms. I will throw that out there. They're wearing those all-whites today. I like that. I like color rush uniforms, personally. I think they're pretty cool. But going back to it, how does this Tennessee team overall, how do they handle going on the road to Norman and having to battle through adversity where they haven't had to battle at all this season? I'm going to take a quick drink of my coffee real quick, so excuse me. Try to make it a quick one, but it's coffee. I don't want to burn myself. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking Tennessee has not had to go against a team as tough as Oklahoma this far into the season. Oklahoma hasn't faced a team as tough as Tennessee either. I'm not trying to say that. Oklahoma definitely has their work cut out for them, right? I guess we're going to jump to the only comment we see. So guys, make sure to jump in that live chat so we can get to some comments. We want to take a couple of breaks and step away to go to the comment section. But Larry Boxley, he says, season-defining game, just competing won't do. Need a statement win. Yeah, I totally agree. And Larry, thank you so much for your support. You've been one of the biggest supporters of the show so far. Guys, hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We do these live shows. These live shows are a little bit more sloppy. They're kind of all over the place a little bit more than usual, just because we want to have interaction with you guys. So make sure to join in and jump in the chat. We want to see your chat down below in the live chat. But anyways, getting back to this game. Oklahoma, that 6.5-point favorite right now. That opened up. That line opened up 7.5-point favorite, went down. So the way this actually works. So if and I think I've explained this in the past, but for those who don't understand the point spread, what that means, what that is, why there's a half a point. That half a point is a hook. So it basically helps a bettor. So if I wanted to take Oklahoma plus 6.5, that means they're giving Oklahoma 6.5 points, which means if Oklahoma were to lose by 6 points or less, they would cover that spread. Or even if they win, they cover that spread as long as they don't lose by more than 6 points. Or minus 6.5 for Tennessee. When people take Tennessee to cover that minus 6.5, that means they expect Tennessee to win by 7 or more. If they only win by 6, they did not cover the spread because of that hook that's in there. So the hook, I hate whenever betting lines, these spreads and stuff sit there and they don't have that hook on them, because if it's sitting at an even 6 points, you take that, there's a possibility that your bet just breaks even and you don't win, you don't lose, you just get your money back. That's no fun. I do sports betting a little bit, just more or less. The way I always explain it to people, treat it like a game that you want to win. Don't go out there. I mean, I throw $10 here and there, $50 might be the biggest bet I've ever made, and it was over something that I really truly believed in. But looking at the betting lines, though, if you guys do any kind of sports betting, just be responsible with it. Know what you have. Only bet what you can afford to bet. That's one thing I try to express that as much as possible, because I talk about sports betting and I'm pretty good at it. But there's bad days. There's days where you lose bets and it just doesn't make any sense. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago when Oklahoma was in a dogfight with Houston, and then you had Notre Dame lose to NIU. You had, who was it? It was Bowling Green, really close with Penn State. You had Michigan get trounced by Texas. There's days like that where you just lose money. So just be smart with it. That's all I'm saying. But I see Trap House booming. Thanks for joining in the chat. He says Sooners money line. I like it. Why not? Why not? I'll get to my prediction here in just a moment. But let's get into some expectations. We usually try to set some expectations for the players, just for the team overall. These are just things, I guess, maybe not even expectations. Things that I would like to see. I don't know, what else do you call that? But some things I would like to see. I want to see Tennessee held to. I'm trying to be very generous because I know Tennessee is a very good overall rushing team. They're overall, I mean, they run the ball extremely well. That's their bread and butter. That's what Tennessee loves to do. I'm going to look up their average rushing real quick. What is their average rushing yards per game? 336.3 yards a game. That is insanely good. If you can rush for 150 yards, you're having a pretty good day on the ground. That's a pretty decent day if you get 150 yards. And I guess in today's college football, it's totally different, though. You're expecting like 200, 250. Still, 250 is, man, that's a really good day on the ground. But they're averaging 336.3 yards on the ground. That's insane. So for our defense, that is our strength on defense, right? We are best at stopping the run compared to the pass. Passing game is very hard to stop. But you've got a young quarterback. His first true road game, you have to slow them down and force him to throw the ball. Now, they have some scary receivers. They really do. They've got some receivers over on their side that I don't want to have to go against, but I do believe in, we got a young guy in Des Malone. I don't know when Gentry Williams will be back. I don't think he's going to play today, but I will bring this up. Let me pull up the depth chart. So going over to the depth chart, we do have Gentry Williams listed on, I believe, that left side cornerback. Gentry Williams is listed on that depth chart. It says Des Malone or Gentry Williams or Jacoby Johnson. And honestly, that side, totally love all of those guys. And then the other side, you've got Kenai Walker, Woody Washington. So it's Kenai Walker or Woody Washington. Most of the time, Woody Washington gets most of the reps, but Kenai's been getting a lot of really good, really valuable reps this year. So I'm liking that. So as far as what I'm trying to say is, I want to slow down the run, and I'll get to how I think we can do that. And if you watched the episode that we dropped yesterday, you already know my game plan for that. But you have to force Nico to throw the ball because they are not going to beat you if they have to throw the ball. They are not going to beat you if they have to throw the ball. That's just a cold, hard truth. But you look at their receivers. This is the concerning part, is because we haven't gone against a receiving core this good, against a receiving core that Tennessee brings in. Dante Thornton Jr., the leading receiver, only has 5 receptions, and he's the leading receiver with 169 yards. That's 33, almost 34 yards per reception. Chris Brazel, I forget how to say his name. I'm pretty sure Eric told me how to say his name properly. But he's got 10 receptions, 140 yards, 14 yards per reception. They're not just throwing the ball a little bit. They're throwing it downfield. Got another receiver. They've got Brew McCoy, only 8 receptions, 108 yards. Man, over 10 yards per reception. They got another receiver that we could throw out there. They've got Squirrel White, who lines up at the slot, and he's fast. Squirrel is his name. Yes, that's his name. I don't know if that's his God-given name. I want to look into that. Maybe I'll ask a Tennessee fan or something. If we got our Tennessee fans, let me know. Is that Squirrel White's real name? Squirrel, God-given name? Anyways, Squirrel White, 5 receptions, 108 yards, 21.5 yard average on his receptions. They also used Dylan Sampson quite a bit out of the backfield. He's got 70 yards receiving so far this season. Not a ton of crazy good stats or anything, but they've got really good receivers. And so the reason why these stats are so low for these receivers, these top receivers too, is the fact that they have not had to play. Tennessee has not had, that's one thing with Tennessee. They are very healthy. They are very healthy compared to Oklahoma, extremely healthy, because they get themselves out of these, staying in the game all game long. They get out before halftime. I see we're getting some viewers. Guys, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. But so expectations, defense has to force them to pass the ball. I see Cosmos jumps in. He says Squirrel was given to him by his grandmother. Really? I'd like to hear more about that story. That's pretty cool. I wonder if there's something to that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. If that's right, Cosmos, I appreciate that. But you've got to force them to throw the ball. That means you have to be able to stop the run. And I don't mean just slow the run down. I want to slow them down to 150 yards total rushing on the day. I don't want more than that. That's asking a lot. If we can keep them under 200, I think we're doing our job. But I want to keep them under 150, under $150. Our defense is good enough for it. So why not expect more out of them? I think we should be able to do that. Excuse me, one moment. Still hot, keeping it warm. Anyways, how do we stop the run? How do we slow that run down? How do we force them to throw the ball but not worry about these key receivers that I just talked about? And one thing that I think I worry about the most would be screen game. I think Oklahoma's defended the screen pretty well, but the way that Tennessee does it and can do it would be very effective just to march that ball down. So, you know what? I think that's something to keep in mind. But how do we do it? So I compared it to Georgia. Georgia is the only defense, Kirby Smart's Georgia is the only defense that has been able to stop or slow down Tennessee since Josh Heupel took over. How does he do it? And I wish I would have gotten a screenshot to show you guys. Maybe I'll do something along those lines. I'll try to remember that for the future for sure. I'll pass that along. We'll make sure we do that. Okay. But if you go back and watch Georgia, Tennessee, watch the way that Georgia lines up. They put 5 in the box. For those of you who don't understand what that means, it means 5 in the middle of the field, lining up pretty close to the line of scrimmage. So you might have 4 guys up front, and you've got one linebacker that's going to be like a Danny Stutzman that's probably going to be kind of that spy / jump in there and try to blitz. And you do that to try to stop the run, and those 5 guys are focusing on nothing is getting past us in the run game. We are going to swallow up the run game. That's their entire purpose. Now that leaves 6 guys. You might have maybe your Cheetah on the outside, Kendall Dolby, and then you've got a couple of safeties. You got your cornerbacks, maybe another linebacker, Maybe we have a guy like Kip Lewis, Jaron Kanek drop back in coverage. Danny Stutzman can also drop back in coverage. He's surprisingly fast for as big as he is. But what you do is you drop those 6 guys into coverage. Now, if they've only got 4 receivers out there, maybe let's say they've got 4 receivers. They got trips on one side, a receiver up at the top. This is stuff that you'll see from Tennessee. Trips on one side, a receiver at the top. Maybe we'll just say two receivers and a tight end over here. And then you can see you've got a wide receiver slot and a tight end on one side that kind of trips on one side. And then you've got one single wide out on the other side, wide receiver on the other side. And then you've got a running back. So you've got 5 guys to guard on the pass. So you're going to play kind of a man. You can play zone too with those 6 guys. And I think Oklahoma's looked pretty good in zone coverage overall. There's been a couple of missed assignments. But I think, playing man, I feel much more comfortable playing man with as athletic as our defense is, specifically our DBs. But you get those 6 guys to play where they are only focusing, where the front 5, the 5 that are in the box, they are focusing on only stopping the run. The 6 that are dropped back into coverage, they are only focusing on the pass game. They will not let up a pass. They don't care about the run. The run is not going to come to them. If it does come to them, that's where you get into trouble. We were just talking about that too with Eric, how that's how Georgia did it, and they did let up. That the dangerous thing is that with a really good rushing attack, if you are able to get past those 5 guys, the other 6 aren't paying attention to the run, and you can rip off a 54-yard touchdown. That does happen. That's a danger, but I have enough confidence in this run-stopping defense that those 5 are going to be able to. Danny Stutzman, the best run-stopping linebacker in the nation. I see Cosmos jump back and he says his name is Squirrel White, so his grandmother named him Squirrel, right? So he says it's because nobody could catch him on the playground. Still happens. Yeah, I mean, it does still happen. He's crazy. He's super athletic. And then also he says, I'm on the coffee too. Long, great day. Absolutely love your channel. Hey, I appreciate it, Cosmos. Really do. And this is something too. This is something we explained just a minute ago. I'll reiterate because I think we might have some new people on watching. This is a channel. These live shows are meant to talk with you guys, okay? And we've got other ways that we want to incorporate it. So if you guys want to help support the channel a little bit more, go over to the website, Soonerspotlight.com. Check out the merch store. That's Soonerspotlight.com/store. Or if you just go to Sooner Spotlight, click on merch store. That's a great way to help us grow right now as we're in the growing stage. Another great way, free way to help us, hit that like button. And if you would, share it on social media. Share it with a friend. Share it with a group of friends. Just share it with one person. That's all I ask. Because if we have, close to 400 people right now subscribed, and they share it with one person that says, hey, I want to subscribe to this channel too, that grows up to 800 people. So help us out. We're trying to grow in a way that we can grow as a community too. Sooner fans specifically, but then we've also got Tennessee fans that jump in and kind of chirp at us a little bit. We've also got some Tennessee fans that show tremendous love. Much appreciation. I think Tennessee fans have been the coolest so far going into the SEC. Auburn fans have been pretty awesome too. I think that's easier for me saying that I'm with the War Report, who built their audience on starting off with an Auburn audience, and then kind of building that out, asking me to come over and start this to expand to the SEC. But anyways, let's get on to some more expectations. So we want to try to hold them to less than 200 is reasonable. Less than 150 is my goal. Let's stop that. Put that 5 in the box, 6 in coverage, and stop them on the run game. And you have to stop them in the run game and force them to pass the ball, because I don't think Nico's going to beat us passing the ball. I think you also have to have a spy. Anyways, 150 yards. That's what I want. Cosmos really likes some Sooners merch. I'm a Vol fan, but the Sooners have a tremendous program. Hey, we've got some Sooner merch that in our merch store that isn't even necessarily specifically Sooners. You can go over there and check it out. If you're a Texas hater like we are, I think there's one on there. If you go check that out, it's a pretty clever one. There's a couple of different Texas hate ones just because the rivalry. Why not? But we appreciate you guys as Tennessee fans, especially on this channel, for helping us out and helping us grow, welcoming us into the SEC. What's another goal? Let's get Jackson Arnold over that 220-yard mark. I'm going to look this up just because I'm curious. What is a line? I am a betting man, all right? I like to have a little bit of fun, sprinkle a little cheddar on certain lines, just because. And I'm going to get to my predictions here in a minute, guys. I know we're kind of rambling. Like I said, these live shows are a little bit more ramble all over the place because we try to communicate with you guys. Sometimes things come up off the top of my head, too, that I want to look into. And, of course, they're going to make me verify my account. I want to see what the line is for Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma. I want to see what the line is for Jackson Arnold's his passing, if they even have that on here. I'm not sure if they do. I'm looking it up on DraftKings. That's where I get a lot of this. Okay, so Jackson Arnold is expected, shows like minus 120 for 238 yards, minus 170. I mean, they're expecting to have more than 200 yards. That's what Vegas expects. So, man, if he can get over that 220-yard mark, I think we're looking pretty good on offense. So that's one offensive goal. The other one that we have been reiterating over and over again, specifically, when you look and see that Jackson Arnold is now the leading rusher after a big game. He had almost 100 yards against Tulane last week. So he's now our leading rusher. That's not a good sign. And the week before it was Taylor Tatum with only 6 carries was our leading rusher. So, I mean, the run game has not been good. We have a healthier offensive line. I don't know if you guys know, but we've got Troy Everett coming back in. We've got Jake Taylor coming back in. And then we have Branson Hickman was listed as questionable. But on the depth chart, it shows Branson Hickman or Troy Everett at center. Troy Everett might not play much. What I hope to see out of Troy Everett is the fact that we have Troy Everett and Branson Hickman swap every other drive if we have to. As long as the chemistry's there, swap every other drive. Keep both of those guys healthy because that center position has been what's been killing Oklahoma. Going on to your 4th string center, that's what that's what it is. And that offensive line has struggled so much because of that. You're pulling guys from a left guard over to a right tackle, from a right guard over to a left tackle, from a left guard over to center. I mean, we've had guys all over the place, and that's just not where they're naturally lining up. So, yeah, absolutely. I think having Troy Everett back in the game helps at least solidify our depth there at center, and I would love to see them split time just because I want to keep them healthy. And this is a game where you're going to be going against a very difficult defensive line. I'm not going to shy around the fact that I know for a fact this defensive line is going to absolutely destroy Oklahoma's offensive line. It's banged up. But we have Jacob Sexton back in. We have Branson Hickman, Troy Everett back in. And then Jake Taylor, I believe, was out last week, if I remember correctly. If not, it at least moves Jake Taylor back over to that right tackle position where he's used to playing, which is really awesome. I definitely think that the run game should be able to open up a little bit more. We have to have a single rusher over 80 yards. I don't care if it's Javonte Barnes. I don't care if it's Taylor Tatum. I don't care if it's Gavin Sawchuk. We need a running back over 80 yards, not Jackson Arnold. Utilize him in the run game, sure. We have to move the pocket a lot. Anyways, let's get a single running back over 80 yards. If we can have a couple over 80 yards, maybe one guy breaks off for a 100-yard game. I just don't know if it's going to happen. We're going to jump to the chat. What do we got for here first? Okay, back to Cosmos. He says, I really like the Sooners merch. Okay, yeah, he said, I would really like the Sooners merch. I'm a Vol, but the Sooners have a tremendous program. Hey, we have respect for your program too, honestly. Especially ever since getting Josh Heupel. Tremendous respect. See, it was back in 2014 when we played in Knoxville, right? And that was an amazing atmosphere. I know it wasn't the way that Vols fans like it. The last 3 times Oklahoma played, I'm trying to remember, it was 2014 and 15. We won those 2, and then the other one was back in the 1980 something. If you guys have that, go ahead and correct me what that year was. But Oklahoma's won the last 3, but I don't think Oklahoma and Tennessee have had this big of a matchup those last 3. Oklahoma 3-1. But this is a crazy one. This one might be the one where Tennessee turns around. Anyways, huge respect for your guys' program. Even back then with Butch Jones, I liked Butch. Just didn't fit, just didn't work. And I'm glad they got rid of him and moved on getting over to Heupel, and look at what he's doing. Volcano, obviously you're a Tennessee fan. I love you guys as Tennessee fans, man. You guys are awesome. This will be a great game, maybe game of the year. I agree. He says Tennessee after Oklahoma bye, Arkansas, Florida. Man, I like that. I like that for Tennessee. Build that confidence. Keep on going. Build that confidence. Then he says Oklahoma after Tennessee, Auburn, Texas. Yeah, dude, we have a brutal schedule. So of the next, let's see, counting today. Here, let me pull it up so I don't get this wrong. But out of the next, I think 8 games. So we've got Tennessee ranked number 6. Then we've got later on Texas, number 1 right now. South Carolina, we've got Ole Miss ranked number 5. Missouri ranked number 7. Alabama ranked number 4. So we've got 5 of our next, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. 5 of the next 8 games ranked in the top 10. I mean, that's insane. And then later on, you got LSU, last game of the season. I'll be down in Baton Rouge for that one. I'm very excited. But yeah, it's crazy schedule. And Tennessee has a very manageable schedule too. That's the exciting thing for Vol fans. If you can pull out with a win here, who's to say you don't go on and win the SEC championship game? You guys have Georgia later on in the season, right? Who else does Tennessee have? I know I've seen their schedule. So you've got Alabama. That's who I was thinking of, and Georgia. So you've got 2 very tough games after this. You got Alabama, Kentucky. You should be able to roll Kentucky, even though they put up a fight for some weird reason against anybody, specifically Tennessee. Georgia later on in the season. Yeah, I like your guys' schedule. I mean, it's lined up for you guys to have a good season. So it's exciting. If Tennessee wins tonight, 100%, I'm backing Tennessee. I'm cheering for them to win all the way up, and hopefully Oklahoma wins all the way up too, and all the way through. We can meet in the SEC championship game, maybe. Who knows? I don't think that's a possibility. Not a probability. It's a possibility, not a probability. So going back to Cosmos, he says, I would honestly love to see you work for the Vols Network. Jimmy Hames, Jimmy, how do you say his last name? Hyams, is an LSU fan and Saints fan because he's from Louisiana. He moved to Knoxville to cover the Vols over 30 years ago and stayed. Hey, Auburn, this Auburn network that I'm with, that's the War Rapport. They're an Auburn network. The reason why they had me join was because they want to expand to all SEC teams. So maybe I'll talk to Ike and Ike. It's funny, Ike and Mike. So Mike and Ike, both of those guys. Maybe I'll talk to them about starting up a Tennessee channel for you guys too. But just I'm already doing 2 shows. I've got another full-time show that I'm doing called Rising to the Occasion. We do all national sports. So, but I like the idea. Why not? Anyways, let's go on. Mars Jams, he says, Boomer, Sooner. Right back at you. Got to respond with that one. I did like seeing Pat McAfee play back and forth with the fans today. I'll have to go and see who they end up picking. I'm sure it's Tennessee, right? Back to Volcano, he says, do you think Oklahoma can guard James Pierce? I think they can. And James Pierce really hasn't shown yet. Now, I was talking about this earlier in the week. He hasn't shown his abilities this season yet. He hasn't played a lot either. But, like the fact that he hasn't really recorded a solo tackle is concerning to me for both sides of the spectrum. It's concerning as a Tennessee fan because why hasn't he been able to disrupt? I know he's been held, he's been double teamed, but he hasn't done anything against inferior opponents. What makes you think that he would be able to do it against Oklahoma? But on the other side, he hasn't done anything yet. He's been saving that energy for the biggest game of the season up to this point. That scares me as an Oklahoma fan. So it's going to be hard to slow any of your defensive linemen down. James Pierce being one of them. He's the headline guy. That's definitely who I think. It's definitely who I think is. He's scary. He's scary. But you guys have like 12 guys you're going to rotate on that defensive line. I don't know how. I think the only way we beat that defensive line is having a hurry-up offense where we don't substitute. We have to keep the same guys on the field so we don't allow you to substitute, and we're just going to have to run, go. That's the only way I see beating the defensive line, just keeping the same guys out there, not letting you rotate, and if you do rotate, maybe catch you on a couple of penalties, getting guys in and off the field. Only way I see it. Cosmos, I see that. I'm going to go through and read your comments after the fact. I see you're commenting a bunch, and I appreciate it, man. And I also appreciate the flowers you're throwing my way, too. Tennessee beat Oklahoma 1939. That's what it was. Oklahoma beat Tennessee in the Orange Bowl in the 50s or 60s. Oklahoma beat Tennessee in 2014-15. I knew it was 1900s. I couldn't remember what the last matchup was. Somewhere in the 50s or 60s, though. Maybe 68. Maybe that was the number. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, and then he says Orange Bowl game was missed by a field goal. Tennessee that went down to the wire. 2015, of course, was a huge comeback game by Baker Mayfield in the second half and OT. Yeah, my cousin and I, we just watched that game, rewatched that game last night, just preparing for today. Living in the glory days. Baker started off really rough in that game, turned it around really big. Man, I miss that guy. And I totally understand any fan of any other team that hates Baker Mayfield. 100%, I get it. But I love Baker. I loved him. I've got some Baker jerseys hiding around here somewhere. I think I had to take them down because I know I had a Browns jersey. I'm going to have to get a Tampa Bay jersey. I love Baker. Huge supporter of Baker. That Tennessee game back in 2015, that was a fun game on both sides of the ball too, right? Like coming down to the wire. And it was just for Tennessee upsetting because you got beat by, coming back 17 points. Was that what it was? 17-3 at one point, I know for sure. But phenomenal. And you know what? I think this is going to be a fun rivalry, but like one of those cordial rivalries, not really necessarily a rivalry. So, I don't think that's the right word for it. I've been trying to find, what we can call this thing between Oklahoma and Tennessee, because I've been feeling the love, and I hope that you guys have been feeling the love from Oklahoma too. But guys, let's get to predictions real quick. I have some more expectations I could probably throw out. I have way too many expectations. Predictions. I'm going to give you 2 predictions because my mind is telling me that I'm looking at these stats that Tennessee has put on paper, and I'm seeing all of the experts, and they're compelling. And I do think Tennessee, when you just watch them, they just look better. There really is. There's only one category that I think Oklahoma has the upper hand against Tennessee. There's only one category that I think Oklahoma beats Tennessee, and that's our wide receivers against your secondary. But how can we use our wide receivers, who are much healthier now? We got Andrell Anthony and Nick Anderson hopefully going to be playing today. Nick Anderson should be fine. Andrell Anthony, I'm confused on. But anyways, healthier wide receiver core that I think we can beat the Tennessee secondary. But how do you beat the secondary if you can't stop that defensive line? So when you look at it on paper, the defensive line is going to eat our offensive line up if they look like they have. I think I'll get to that in just a second. Defensive line beats us. There you go over to that defensive line really stands up for a lot of ways on defense too. So against our offense, the defense is going to be difficult because we're having to get through that defensive line. Going on the offensive side of the ball for Tennessee, that run game is so good. Their run game, far better than ours. I think quarterback play so far, Nico Iamaleava, why can't we just pronounce, why can't we just have a short 1 or 2 syllable name? Why do we got to drag it out like this? But anyways, Nico has looked much better than Jackson Arnold this far into the season. I think Jackson Arnold has to have a breakout game in order to win this game. I think if Tennessee can score 35 points or more, Tennessee wins this game. And I think that's possible because we've seen what their run game can do, and that run game opening up the pass game. I think that's possible for Tennessee. And you know what? My brain is telling me that's why I'm going to give you 2 different predictions, because I'm just all over the place. This matchup is so crazy. Matchup of the century. I want to hurry up before these games start here at 11. First one, if Tennessee scores more than 35, I'm seeing Tennessee win 38 to 32 is what my prediction is on that. Tennessee wins. That's one prediction. But the homer side of me is never going to sit here and pick a team to beat my team, right? And I don't think I would be a fan if I let that happen. My brain is telling me if I wasn't a fan and I took bias out of it, I would probably pick Tennessee to win. About 38-32 was my prediction over there. But there's something telling me that this defense for Oklahoma is being underrated severely. I feel like they're going to cause 3 turnovers this game. And I feel like they're going to force Nico to have to throw it, and he's going to have to throw it with pressure in his face, with a spy on him, so he's not going to be able to run the ball, and we're going to get 2 or 3 turnovers. And so my prediction, my homer prediction, is Oklahoma holds Tennessee to less than 35, holds them to 28 points, and Oklahoma wins at 32-28. So there's my 2 predictions, my 2 scenarios, because my mind is telling me Tennessee just looks better than Oklahoma, right? But when I dive deep into it, and I dive deeper into what Tennessee's done against who they've done, and who they've done it against specifically, I don't think they're as good as the paper shows. So we should be able to win with this defense. So I like Oklahoma 32-28. That's my super official prediction, putting it out there. But my brain, if I take bias out of it as much as I can, and Tennessee's offense is as good as advertised, and the defense for Oklahoma isn't as good as advertised, I think, if they score more than 35, I don't think our offense scores 35 points or more to keep up with them. So if it's a dogfight, if the defenses are the storyteller on this, that's where I think it goes. We're going to jump to the comments one more time, because I know I saw a couple jump in. Larry, huge thanks to Larry, man. You've been one of the biggest supporters. I think I already said that, but thanks again. He says Tennessee has had 1 double-digit win since Fulmer left in 07 or 08. How about Tennessee win a little before we all bow down to them as one of the best in the country? History, guys, history. I agree with you, but history doesn't say everything, right? Because, this is a different Tennessee team. They have won very significant games here in recent years. They haven't been good on the road. Going to Volcano's comment, he says, I like you guys to win. Nico first road start. Man, that's the kind of thing whenever I hear Tennessee fans saying, man, we're not good on the road. We got Nico on the road for his first time. That's the other thing, that I just think this atmosphere wins the game for Oklahoma. I think this atmosphere mixed with the defense wins this game for Oklahoma. I really do. And so, I'm picking my official pick, my homer pick, Oklahoma 32-28. Offense gets out to a rolling start. The offensive line back in their original positions for the first time all season. Gets out there, looks way better against a very good Tennessee defensive line. You know what? And so I think we win 32-28. The offense gets rolling a little bit. We get some run game going. We open up the passing game a little bit more. The defense sets us up in a good field position a couple of times to get a couple of scores. We don't win by much, but we barely win. Going to that official pick, though, I do think if Tennessee does get out ahead and they start to score, then I think Tennessee wins this one. 38-32 is the other pick there. So I see Cosmos puts his prediction. He says 41-24 Tennessee. Just haven't seen much from OU. I totally understand and agree with people that look at OU and say, but you haven't put out your best product. Why should we believe? And I totally agree. Why should we believe Oklahoma's going to put their best product on the field today? Larry says OU 24, Tennessee 17. That's the kind of score prediction that I think if Oklahoma wins, that's accurate. Keeping it a low-scoring game is in Oklahoma's favor, not Tennessee's. Higher scoring game, 100% Tennessee's game. And so I totally understand the blowouts too, the blowout predictions. I totally understand everyone picking against Oklahoma. I really do. It totally makes sense. They've had kind of this off feeling about them the entire season, but the defense is what we lean on. The defense is what we're relying on. And that's all I got for you guys. This went longer. Great comments in the chat. It was awesome to get to meet Volcano and Cosmos and kind of get to see you guys a little bit. Like I said, keep in touch just because maybe we will start a Tennessee podcast as well. Who knows? If not, then maybe we can at least help get one started for sure. But I appreciate you guys. Appreciate all of you for jumping in the chat. Make sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We're almost to our goal. We wanted to reach 500 by the end of October. I bumped that up. I want to reach 500 because we're at this point. It's a new channel, guys. I want to reach 500 before October. So share it with a friend. Share it on social media. Help us out. Help us grow. You can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. That's at @RealJoshMahler. Check me out over there. Again, go to Soonerspotlight.com for everything we do. We've got some articles out on the site now. We're going to try to pump those out as much as possible. We've got everything we do, a merch store. Go check it out. Guys, we appreciate you all so much. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.